Ladies and gentlemen.
This is an actual robbery!
All tellers, please stand up and open your windows.
You got Missy, no tracers, no dye packs, no funny business.
Yes, Mr. Sinatra.
Give me everything you got.
You can have her, mister.
I don't want to take your doll, sweetheart.
Hey, stick to the plan.
You know, when my granddaughter was your age, she had one just like it.
What's her name?
Oh, okay, honey, this man has a job to do.
His job's robbing banks.
No, sweetheart. Just trying to see my family more often. Light-headed.
You okay, mister?
Gonna need a little help.
Lucy!
His mask's too hot for him.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
I can't breathe when I wear masks neither.
I want you to start with that man over there, okay?
The movie opens with an elderly man, Joe Harding, walking into a bank. At the reception desk, he's handed a pager and told to wait in the guest lounge until it buzzes. Almost immediately after sitting down, the pager lights up, and Joe is directed to the bank manager's office. Inside the office, the manager explains that Joe's checking account is overdrawn because his pension hasn't been paid for several months. Joe says his former employer stopped making payments and hasn't responded to any calls. He then hands the manager a foreclosure notice and demands to know why his mortgage payment has suddenly tripled.
You are on our teaser rate promo, which expired back in January. That's why it's called a teaser rate. Right? It doesn't last. Makes sense. The new rate is quite a bit higher, so the monthly mortgage payment jumped up.
You did.
I did what?
You sold me this crap.
And we are required to disclose that possibility at the time of the refi. I personally disclosed the possibility of a rate hike during your refi. Do you remember that?
You told me that the odds on the rate going past the prime rate were extraordinary.
But possible.
You sold me extraordinary.
But the possible was disclosed.
Joe is devastated, explaining that his daughter and granddaughter live with him, and losing the house would leave them homeless.
I can't lose my house.
Not to worry, you're on the yellow notice. The red one is more weighty.
In the middle of their argument, gunshots erupt inside the bank. 3 masked men storm in and begin a robbery. They order everyone to lie on their backs with their hands and feet raised like a pussycat, sparing only the tellers, whom they warn not to activate the silent alarm as they empty the cash drawers. One robber notices the panicking manager inside the office and storms over, silencing him. He allows Joe to sit up, and Joe instinctively hands him the foreclosure notice. As the robber takes it, Joe notices a tattoo on his neck. The robber reads the notice and sympathizes with Joe's situation. When Joe offers him his wallet, the robber refuses.
It's not much, but it's all yours.
No, my friend, not from you. It is a culture's duty to take care of its elderly.
Chuck here couldn't give a crap.
He then confronts the manager, angrily accusing him of taking an old man's home, and steals the manager's wallet instead. As the countdown runs out,
15 seconds!
the robbers flee, warning everyone not to call the police for 90 seconds. After the incident, Joe gives his statement to the FBI. He provides a detailed description of the robber's neck tattoo, which helps them create a sketch.
If you find the tattoo parlor, then you'll find the artist and you've got yourself a bank robber.
But the lead investigator, Agent Hamer, dismisses the idea with mild sarcasm. Though he thanks Joe for his cooperation.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, old-timer. You know, we're going to get you an application. If we need any additional information, then we'll get in contact with you.
Oh, you'll need my address and phone number.
Not necessary. We'll find you. That's what we do.
Later, Joe is picked up from the FBI by his daughter Rachel and his granddaughter Brooklyn. On the drive home, Brooklyn excitedly asks about the robbery, and Joe describes the robber who spoke to him.
You know you find the tattoo artist.
You find the criminal.
Brooklyn finds the whole experience fascinating, calling it cool, but Rachel quickly shuts down the conversation, warning her not to glorify crime.
He could have been shot, or worse.
What's worse than being shot?
Being shot twice.
That night, Joe watches the news and sees Agent Hamer briefing the media.
It's pretty standard stuff. We believe these individuals use the same tattoo artist. We can find this artist, then we can find our perp.
Hey, that's what we said.
What an asshole.
Language.
The next day, Joe meets up with his longtime friends, Willie Davies and Albert Garner. Willie reads in the newspaper that the robbers escaped with $1.6 million and that authorities have no solid leads. Joe recalls how calm and professional the robbers were. As they sit together, all 3 men pull out identical letters from their former employer's pension department, confused and worried about the sudden silence regarding their benefits.
I need my pension money.
Soon after, they attend a meeting at their old factory. Management announces that the plant plant is shutting down and relocating production to Vietnam due to rising costs. When Joe asks about the pension letters, the company representative bluntly states that the pension fund is being dissolved and nothing can be done. Furious, Joe demands to know whether 30 years of hard work mean nothing to them.
30 years of hard work means shit to you people.
That evening, the three friends sit at their favorite diner, trying to figure out what to do next. Joe suggests suing the company, but Willie quickly shuts the idea down, saying they'll be dead long before any settlement comes through. As they talk, the waitress stops by and asks if they want their usual pie, but they decline this time, with Albert bluntly admitting they're broke. After she leaves, Joe brings up the bank robbery again, but his friends tease him for obsessing over it. Joe explains that the whole situation keeps replaying in his head. Moments later, the waitress returns anyway, setting a slice of pie in front of them and insisting they should always eat their pie.
She's right, you know. We should be having our pie and eating it.
Joe reflects on this, saying they've worked their whole lives and should be enjoying the rewards by now. Later, when Joe gets home, he finds another letter from the bank, this one in red. It states that his house will be foreclosed on in 1 month. The next day, Willie is at the hospital for his regular dialysis session. There, his doctor delivers troubling news. Willie urgently needs a kidney transplant. Unfortunately, he's low on the transplant list, and issues with his insurance make things even more complicated. The doctor advises him to speak to family members or close friends about being a donor, as that may be his best chance. Willie says he'll think about it. Later at home, he video calls his daughter and granddaughter, but keeps his condition to himself. His granddaughter sent him a shirt and a framed photo of herself for his birthday, and Willie is visibly touched by the gesture. Elsewhere, Albert is giving a saxophone lesson to a teenage boy who clearly has no interest in the instrument and keeps playing random, terrible notes. Albert finally tells him to stop forcing himself to learn something he doesn't enjoy, pointing out that he's only getting worse each week. Relieved, the boy hugs Albert and admits he'd rather be a dancer. The boy's grandmother Annie walks Albert to his car, and Albert gently advises her not to waste the boy's time with music lessons he doesn't want. Annie agrees, then flirts with Albert, revealing that she once saw him perform back in 1977 with jazz legend Stan Getz and loved it. They part ways on friendly terms. Meanwhile, Joe picks up his granddaughter Brooklyn from school. She reminds him that she's 14 now and doesn't need him walking her home all the time. She then proudly hands him her biology test.
Another day, another A.
Brooklyn reminds Joe of his promise that if she gets straight A's, she'll get a puppy. Joe keeps his word, praising her and agreeing to the deal. That evening, the three friends gather at their usual hangout spot for seniors, run by an old man named Milton, to celebrate Willie's birthday. Other elderly residents are there, and they sit down to dinner, though the food leaves much to be desired. Joe gives Willie a watch featuring a photo of his granddaughter, and Willie loves it. After a brief silence, Joe casually announces that he wants to rob a bank. His friends laugh, assuming it's a joke, until Joe pulls out the red foreclosure notice and explains that the bank is taking his house. Realizing he's serious, they ask what would happen if they got caught. Joe says they have nothing to lose at their age and insists they won't get caught. If a group of reckless thugs could pull it off, so could they.
We won't get caught. They didn't get caught.
Wow, they were young. They were fast.
We got skills, experience, smarts.
Arthritis, gout, shingles.
He argues that banks ruin lives and always get away with it, and this could be a permanent solution to their money problems. Before the conversation can continue, the rest of the group breaks into a loud rendition of Happy Birthday as Milton sets a cake on the table. Willie makes a wish and blows out the candles. Later that night, Joe is in bed when Willie calls him. Willie admits he wants a better life and wants to see his family more than once a year. He asks Joe if he truly meant what he said earlier. Joe confirms that he did. Willie hesitates but agrees to join, on one condition. They only take what they're owed from their pension and nothing more. Joe agrees immediately and tells Willie to wake Albert.
Al? Albert?
Huh?
Pick up the phone.
Who died?
Nobody died, it's Joe.
I don't talk to criminals.
You heard that?
Hang up. I'll call him back.
Joe calls him directly and says Willie is already in, but Albert still refuses and hangs up. Joe calls back one last time, asking him to sleep on it and decide later.
Why'd you pick up the phone?
Because it was ringing.
Because you're interested.
What are you, my psychiatrist now?
More like a psychic.
Albert refuses again and wishes them good night. As all three men lie awake in their beds, each of them quietly turns the idea over in his mind. The next day, Joe and Willie decide to test their abilities by stealing groceries from a store. Albert drives them there, watching in confusion as they put on sunglasses and caps as disguises, still unaware of what they're planning. Joe tells Albert to stay in the car while they handle some business, and the two men head inside. Once in the store, Joe and Willie begin slipping groceries into their clothes. Albert quickly grows uneasy and decides to follow them inside. As soon as he enters, he runs into Annie, who asks what he's shopping for. He says he needs chicken to cook a meal, and Annie eagerly offers to help him. Meanwhile, Joe and Willie continue stealing items, stuffing them into their clothing. A female female security guard becomes suspicious of Joe and starts trailing him. She nearly catches him, but Joe pretends to be a normal shopper, successfully throwing her off. After she walks away, Joe knocks over a stack of canned food. Albert notices what Joe and Willie are doing, but can't interfere because Annie is still with him, flirting non-stop. Eventually, Albert tells her he knows she's flirting and insists he's not interested in a relationship. Annie plays it off, claiming she's not offering one. Just then, Albert hears a security alert announced over the store's PA system and decides to leave. Outside, Willie emerges first, stuffed with stolen groceries, but panics when he doesn't see Albert in the car. He takes off on foot. Joe follows shortly after and grabs an electric shopping scooter to make his escape. The same security guard spots them and gives chase. Joe catches up to Willie and tells him to
Jump in the basket.
Who the hell you think I am? E.T.?
Jump in the bloody basket.
I'm not getting in no bloody basket!
He climbs in, and they speed off down the street. To slow her down, Willie rips open a bag of flour and throws it behind them, but the guard keeps coming. They nearly run a red light and almost collide with a bus before they're finally caught. The men are taken to the store manager's office and shown CCTV footage of their failed heist. Albert is with them.
And why were you running? You didn't steal anything?
Because your stormtrooper here was chasing me.
No, they were chasing your friends.
He was chasing me. When somebody chases me, I run. That's the way it works.
Never. In all my years, has anybody ever walked off with a whole pork loin? What would your mama say?
Go big or go home.
Had to be the brother. Look what you did to Cindy. Now she's looking like a Colombian drug mule.
The manager scolds Joe and Willie, but out of pity for their age, lets them off with coupons and a warning. He jokingly tells them that if they must steal, they shouldn't do it at his store, Value Town. Outside, Albert explodes in anger. He refuses to let them into his car and mocks them for failing to rob a grocery store, yet thinking they can pull off a bank robbery. He drives off, leaving Joe and Willie behind. Afterward, Willie admits Albert might be right. Joe, however, suggests they get professional help.
You know any criminals?
I know a lowlife.
Soon, they're standing at the door of Joe's former son-in-law, Murphy. Joe lies, claiming he's there to collect unpaid child support, and Murphy reluctantly lets them in. Inside, Joe and Willie stare in amazement at Murphy's neatly labeled jars of marijuana, wondering if any of it is even legal. When Murphy asks why they're really there, Joe explains they need him to connect them with criminals and lowlifes like himself for a job.
What's wrong with him?
He's thinking.
Looks painful.
I know it looks it, but I've seen him do it before. It's the drugs, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Elsewhere, Albert returns to the grocery store, this time carefully placing items where cameras can clearly see him.
Oh, this stupid bitch. I wish I could tase his old ass.
Annie then approaches Albert and makes small talk before asking him out to dinner. Albert insists he doesn't want a relationship, but Annie keeps pushing. He finally admits it's because he has a roommate. Annie smiles, says it's not a problem since she has her own place, gives him a flirtatious look, and walks away. Moments later, the two end up together in bed.
You make a hell of an eggplant parmesan. World class.
Thank you.
Later, Albert rejoins Joe and Willie at their usual diner, clearly in a much better mood. He orders food from Mitzi, the waitress, while his friends admit they didn't expect him to show up. Albert shrugs it off, saying he's too old to hold grudges. Willie then reads the newspaper and discovers that their pension fund is being used to pay off the company's old debts and utility bills. Worse still, the same bank planning to seize Joe's house has been hired to manage the liquidation. All three men have been loyal customers of that bank. This finally pushes Albert over the edge, and after a moment of silence, he agrees to join the robbery.
I'm in.
Joe explains that Murphy has connected them with a man they need to meet, and that they'll use weed to establish rapport. Shortly after, they meet a man named Jesus, a pet shop owner. Joe lays out the plan and offers him 25% of the take. Jesus is skeptical and asks why he should help them. He takes a puff of the weed, praises its quality, and passes it to Joe, who awkwardly takes a hit to look cool. Willie follows suit. Still unsure, Jesus brings out a tiny puppy he claims to have found in a drainage pipe and asks the dog whether he should help them. Willie plays with the puppy while Jesus continues to hesitate. Losing patience, Joe snaps.
I don't have to take shit from you. I get enough of this crap out there. In 20 days, I will not have a roof over my head. My social security check is a joke, and my pension is tits up. Us three are going to go through with it. If you want to make 25% helping us, that's fine. But if you don't, keep the bullshit to yourself.
Impressed by Joe's attitude, Jesus finally agrees.
Mañana.
On the way home, Joe and Willie are clearly high from the weed. That evening, the three friends have dinner again at Milton's senior hangout.
This food is excellent tonight.
They must have changed recipes. Same crap. You got the munchies.
Joe asks Willie how much time he thinks he has left. Willie estimates 2 to 3 years. Joe guesses maybe 7, while Albert jokes that he might live to 100, even though he doesn't like the idea. Joe calculates their remaining years and multiplies them by their annual annual pensions. The total comes to just over $1.2 million. They agree that's all they need to take from the bank, and if they get anything extra, they'll donate it to charity.
Yeah, but what if we get less? I'm not gonna go through this twice.
The next day, the preparation officially begins. The men take Jesus to the bank they plan to rob, and when he realizes it's their own bank, he's visibly disappointed.
It's personal.
Still, he breaks one of his own rules.
Never rob your own bank.
And agrees to move forward. He starts by sketching the interior of the building and analyzing the layout. The trio then visits the bank several times, discreetly taking photos, studying the structure, and noting camera positions and blind spots. They secure a getaway van and learn how to hotwire a vehicle. With Annie's help, they also begin exercising, taking long walks, and trying to get into better shape. Jesus stresses the importance of having solid alibis, so they schedule the robbery on the same day as their senior center fundraiser and carnival, volunteering for visible roles like the t-shirt committee. They gather supplies, learn that the average police response time is about 2 minutes, and repeatedly practice entering and exiting the bank within that window. At first, they fail. Later, after more training, they manage to get out in 3 minutes. Jesus admits it's not perfect.
Maybe the cops will be slow.
He also trains them to use guns, warning that weapons are strictly for worst-case scenarios only. The night before the robbery, Joe and Willie watch television while Albert sleeps nearby.
How can he sleep?
He's getting late.
Oh, yeah. I remember what that was like.
Joe asks if Willie feels nervous about the next day, but Willie says he's calm. They review the plan one final time and agree that if the police catch them, they'll surrender without resistance. Joe encourages Willie to get some rest, and they say goodnight. The next morning, Joe is at home teaching Murphy how to make breakfast for Brooklyn.
You do this every day?
Every day.
No shit.
Yes.
Wish my dad did this for me.
So does your daughter.
Rachel walks in and questions what Murphy is doing, but Joe explains that he's trying to be a better father. Brooklyn enters and is surprised to see her dad cooking.
Your father made you breakfast. Holy shit.
Easy.
Later, Joe walks Brooklyn to school and encourages her to give Murphy a chance since he's making an effort. He tells her he won't be picking her up that day because of the carnival and that Murphy will handle it instead. She hugs him and heads off. Afterward, Murphy tries to convince Joe to reconsider whatever he's planning, but Joe shuts him down.
And if in the end I don't come back, it's on you. I can't cover for you anymore. You're her father. You gotta step up to the plate, act like a man, even if you have to fake it.
All right.
Soon, the men are at the carnival, all dressed in the event's t-shirts. They actively participate, making sure they're seen by everyone. When the festivities are in full swing, they quietly slip away, change into suits, and head for the bank. On the drive, Joe hands out the guns but reveals they're loaded with blanks to ensure no one gets hurt. He tells his friends it's been an honor planning the heist with them. They arrive at the bank wearing masks of the Rat Pack and storm inside. They lock the doors behind them. They fire multiple shots into the air, ordering everyone to lie on the ground. They warn the tellers not to trigger the silent alarm. When a security guard reaches for his weapon, Albert orders him to drop it and get down. Everyone complies, including the bank manager. Willie and Albert move to the tellers, demanding all the cash from the drawers, warning them not to include die packs or try anything clever. Albert calls out the time at intervals to keep them on track. During the chaos, a little girl offers her doll to Willie, and he kneels to comfort her. This distraction allows one of the tellers to secretly activate the silent alarm, alerting the police. Willie reassures the girl and tells her he's doing this so he can see his family more often. Suddenly, he becomes lightheaded and collapses. The girl tries to remove his mask to help him breathe, but her mother stops her and calls for help. Willie thanks the girl, and she notices the watch on his wrist with his granddaughter's photo inside. Albert urgently announces that they've already gone past 2 minutes and that the police are on the way. Joe helps Willie to his feet, and the three men move toward the exit. Behind them, the manager quietly retrieves the security guard's gun from the floor and orders them to freeze. They ignore him and raise their weapons. Albert warns that he'll count to 3 and shoot if the manager doesn't drop the gun.
In 3 seconds, I'm gonna shoot you.
You're gonna do what?
I'll shoot back!
He's gonna bloody shoot us.
That's your plan?
1, 2. Next number's 3.
I can count!
The manager refuses and fires first. But he's a terrible shot and misses completely. Albert fires back, and the manager collapses, screaming in pain, until Albert reveals the gun was loaded with blanks. The men escape, jump into their getaway van, and disappear. By the time the police arrive, they're already gone and have split up. That night, the three friends celebrate at a fancy restaurant. They order champagne and one slice of every pie on the menu. As they eat, Albert takes the stage, playing the saxophone and entertaining the crowd, finally enjoying the pie they'd spent their whole lives earning. On their way home, the three men sing loudly, drunk and joyful. The moment feels carefree until Willie suddenly clutches his chest and begins to collapse. When they ask where it hurts, he weakly replies,
Everywhere.
Albert immediately shouts for someone to call an ambulance. Meanwhile, the FBI launches its investigation. Agent Hamer and his team review the bank's security footage. They pause at the moment when the little girl nearly removes Willie's mask and determine that the robber is an African-American man, no younger than 60. They decide to pursue this lead. At the hospital, the doctor delivers devastating news to Joe and Albert. Willie is in complete renal failure and urgently needs a kidney transplant. Without one, he won't be able to leave the hospital. Joe and Albert visit Willie in his room, where he's watching the news. On TV, the bank manager is bragging about how he bravely tried to stop the robbery.
They must have been very young and nimble. I fired a barrage of shots at them, and they were able to evade all the bullets.
His friends confront Willie, asking why he kept his condition secret. Albert, overwhelmed with anger and guilt, storms out. Joe stays behind and tells Willie he shouldn't have carried the burden alone. They're friends, and they should have had each other's backs. He promises they'll find a solution. Later, Joe and Albert watch Agent Hamer give a public update on the case at the hospital reception before heading out. The robbery footage is released to the public. Unfortunately, the manager of Value Town recognizes Albert in the footage. He shows the FBI surveillance footage from the earlier grocery incident, comparing Albert running from the store to his movements during the bank robbery.
We're gonna need a copy of this.
Got one right here.
Not long after, authorities begin making arrests. Albert is at Annie's place when FBI agents and police pull up to take him in. Joe is at his granddaughter's baseball game when he notices police cars pulling up for him. Willie is spending time with his daughter and granddaughter when officers arrive and ask to speak with him. Moments later, Joe and Albert are taken to FBI headquarters for questioning. During interrogation, the agent reveals that $2.3 million was stolen. He asks where the men were between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., the exact time of the robbery. Calmly, the men walk him through their entire day, hour by hour. Investigators interview witnesses and review CCTV footage, all of which appear to support their story. Willie claims he was entertaining children at the haunted attraction during the carnival, though he secretly left in a different costume to commit the robbery. Albert says he spent nearly an hour in a portable restroom, later revealed to have exited by unscrewing the back panel, before returning to perform karaoke with Annie. After the robbery, Joe dropped the money off with Jesus to stash and launder. The carnival footage confirms their alibis, leaving Agent Hamer with no solid evidence. Still unconvinced, he tells Joe their story is nearly perfect, except for one small detail. He asks the men to come with him. They're taken to Willie's hospital, where Willie and several other elderly men are placed in wheelchairs and escorted into a basketball hall. To Willie's shock, the little girl from the bank robbery is brought in. Agent Hamer asks her to carefully look at each man and identify the robber who comforted her during the heist. The girl examines them one by one. When she reaches Willie, she pauses longer than the rest, noticing the watch on his wrist with his granddaughter's photo inside. After a moment, she turns to Agent Hamer and says the robber is not among them.
I don't see him.
What?
He's not here.
Are you sure?
Yep, I'm positive. I got a great memory.
You want to have another look?
Not really. Can I go home now?
Yeah.
As she leaves, she notices Willie's granddaughter nearby and smiles warmly at her. Days later, Joe meets Jesus at his and his friend's favorite diner. Jesus arrives with a small dog and a carrier and hands Joe some documents, explaining that the dog has been vaccinated and all its medical papers are in order, making it look like a normal purchase. In reality, the carrier is stuffed with the money from the robbery. Joe asks if Jesus has taken his share, but Jesus refuses, saying,
No, not from you. It is a culture's duty to take care of its elderly.
The words hit Joe hard.
It is a culture's duty to take care of its elderly.
At that moment, Joe understands the truth. Jesus was the masked robber. Joe subtly looks at Jesus's neck for the tattoo he remembered, but it's gone.
Where's the tattoo?
Jesus admits it was only henna, deliberately used to mislead the police.
Very impressive.
Just then, Agent Hamer walks into the diner. Joe quietly warns Jesus to stay calm. Hamer approaches and casually explains that he's only there to return Joe's wallet, which Joe supposedly forgot during the interrogation.
How did you find me?
Well, that's what I do. I find people.
Joe introduces Jesus as a man who runs a dog shelter and says he's buying the dog for his granddaughter, who recently made the honor roll at school. Hamer says he'd like to play with the dog. The tension spikes as he kneels beside the carrier, unaware that the money is taped inside. Just as he reaches in, the dog bites him, startling him and making him pull back immediately. Seizing the moment, Joe grabs the carrier and says he needs to get home to give the puppy to his granddaughter. The men quickly leave. Afterward, Mitzi, the waitress, discovers a packet of cash left behind with a note from Joe. Milton and the rest of the senior group also receive their share, accompanied by a note that reads,
Everyone deserves a piece of the pie.
Willie eventually undergoes his kidney transplant, with Albert serving as his donor. Albert tells Willie that even if he doesn't make it, he has no regrets, saying it's been an honor being his friend and roommate for 25 years. Joe manages to save his house and watches Brooklyn happily playing with the puppy nearby. Sometime later, Joe gives an emotional speech about Albert, with Willie standing beside him. He talks about the kind of man Albert is, someone willing to risk everything for the people he loves, and recalls the years they've spent laughing and crying together. The speech feels like a eulogy, but the truth is revealed. It's not Albert's funeral, it's his wedding. Albert is marrying Annie, and everyone is there, including Willie's daughter and granddaughter, Joe's family, and even Murphy. They raise a toast to the newlyweds as the crowd erupts in cheers, dancing, and celebration. Later, Joe and Willie stand on a bridge overlooking the party. Willie says he thinks he might live another 20 years. Joe jokes that it might not last that long because of Albert's kidney. Albert joins them, and they ask how he's feeling. He admits he never expected to end up married, but says Annie is an incredible woman. He adds that he feels something strange, something he finally realizes is happiness.